Good morning. Cindy Thompson, the Creative Connection podcast. And this week I am not podcasting, interviewing, or chatting myself. This is the off week where I'm offering you a reflection and a meditation that kind of goes along with the series that I'm doing right now, the Threshold series that I'm working in between now and the end of the year. And I've got just a short little outline just to keep me on task because those of you who know me well, I like to go off on tangents and tell stories. And I know story is good, but too much story is not good. I lose you. So today is about trusting your inner wisdom, which goes hand in hand with hearing that whisper and approaching a threshold of life. It could be a life stage, it could be a life event, it could be a work event, it could be a relationship event, it could just be an event that's going on inside for you. And I'd like you to consider that we hear more than we trust. And I'm not talking about hearing from the outside world, although there are things that we hear from the outside world that we do have a challenge trusting. I was at a seminar conference last week with about 500 other people. And one of the things that we were chatting about was the trust recession that we have going on right now. People want to see and feel and hear and be in connection with real people. We're not sure what's AI and what's not AI. And our little spidey sense, either the hairs at the back of your neck or goosebumps or something else in your own internal system, often senses something before we can explain it. And then there's a noise that arrives. That noise is, does this make sense? Maybe your own internal question. Does this make sense? What will people think if I ... What? Here's the big one. And for me, for a good portion of my life, this was the thing. What if I'm wrong? Because if I'm wrong, that means I've made a mistake and I've failed. So a question that I want you to consider as we go through today's about 20 minutes or so. What happens when we begin to trust the voice underneath the noise? Perhaps you've experienced this, a pull and a push internally about making a decision. There was a time, there's been multiple times, but there was a time long before I had the tools that I have now. There was a time when I needed to make a decision about a job. And perhaps you've had a job you needed to make a decision about. We were living in Carbondale, Illinois, and I was working for a small chain of department stores, and I was working locally in the Carbondale, Illinois store, and had done so well at improving our sales performance and the overall performance of my team members and the product. And then they promoted me to something higher, and then again, and then again. And then finally, after about a year in my position, they created a new position. It was the Director of Training and Development for the chain of department stores. The catch was, and it was the president and the two vice presidents came to my store to chat with me about this potential promotion. They said, "You'll need to live in Terre Haute." Now, I was married and I was 3 years married at that point in time. 1, 2, 3. 3 years married at that time. My husband was in grad school there in Carbondale, Illinois, at Southern Illinois University. And by taking this job, it would put me in Terre Haute Monday through Friday and only in Carbondale Saturday and Sunday. I would be creating a long distance relationship in my marriage. And there was a lot of noise going on. Could I do this job? Because I would be creating the position. It was brand new. I would be taking what I applied in that store and making it bigger and applying it to all of the stores across the company. I then would have to be rolling it out to these different stores with people that I didn't know. And for those of you that don't know me, I am an introvert the majority of the time. Even doing this sometimes can be very nerve-wracking for me. And could I actually create what I did in a larger form? And could I share how to do it with the team members that needed to do it? And could I live 195 miles away from my husband the majority of the week? But underneath all of that noise, there was a pull to do it, because this is what you got your BA in from the University of Washington, was to take what you have for your story and theater background and translate it to business and be involved in training and development. This is what I had trained for. I had to make a choice. I spent time in conversation with my husband. We went for long walks out in nature and chatted about it. We had a dog and 2 cats at the time, so we took them, we played with them. I had a garden at the duplex that we lived at there in near Carbondale. And I needed to know what those closest to me were thinking about this. And then I had to find some quiet time to myself. Quiet time to sit with this choice and try and push that inner critic noise aside to find out what was underneath. And it took a lot of work because I did not have the skill set that I presently do. Ultimately, I said yes. And I made that choice. And I can tell you that if I had not made that choice, I would not be the person I am today. And there are several opportunities that I've had over the course of my lifetime that I would not have had I not made that choice then. So a thought, perhaps trusting our inner wisdom is not always about knowing the answer and whether it is going to be good or bad, but maybe the answer is, I don't know. Perhaps it starts with what I did, which was to try and become as quiet as possible and be willing to listen. Talking. I've been doing a lot of talking, and I'd like to move us to listening. And I would like to provide a meditation that you can come back to at another time and repeat. And I have notes on my meditation. But what I would like you to know is that there is nothing for you to figure out today. I don't want you to figure anything out. I just want you to create a quiet enough space for yourself to begin the listening process. And maybe you've started at some point in time in your life. But maybe what you notice sometimes when you get quiet, and my husband is the first one to tell you that sometimes this happens to him. When you get quiet, the noise gets louder. So, what I want you to know before we begin is that the voices that come up, the inner critic, the thoughts, they are like clouds outside and they can fly right on over if you let them. Think of yourself laying back in the grass and watching the clouds fly overhead as the thoughts come in and go out. So, for those of you that are familiar with my process, we will begin by settling into our chair, feet on the ground. And if you have the ability to take your shoes off, I recommend that. And then make sure that your shoulders are back, your back is straight up and down. And if you're in a chair like me, sit forward in the chair so that you are at the edge. And if you are comfortable enough to close your eyes, do so. If not, just glancing down, softening your focus, not looking at any one particular thing, sort of daydream looking. And let us start with our breath and make sure that we are breathing as deep and as full as we can by taking a deep breath in through our nose and out through our mouth. We'll do 2 more of those. In through your nose and out through your mouth. And 1 more. In through your nose, out through your mouth. And just keep breathing at a normal, comfortable pace. And as you are sitting there, notice what thoughts come up. And remember to treat them like the clouds passing by. Notice if there are any sensations in your body that are telling you that you overdid something. For me, it's a knee. It tells me when I've done too much or I haven't stretched. Notice if your breath is getting shallow again and try and deepen it. Notice if your shoulders are tight. Perhaps that's where you hold stress, and breathe into your shoulders. Notice if your throat is tight. Perhaps you haven't had enough water, or you found yourself not saying something that you'd like to. Notice if your jaw is tight. We are just noticing. We are not judging. We're just noticing. Then begin to try and pay attention and hear if you can hear noises further away. Where I am, I have my windows open and I hear blue jays and chickadees outside. I hear a little bit of traffic. As you are sitting there, notice if any shoulds or woulds pop up. Remember to tell yourself that there is nothing that is expected of right now. No choices need to be made. We are just listening to our body, our mind. And maybe you have something going on in a relationship and your heart is calling for attention. What is your system telling you? Taking a deep breath in and out. And see if you can go a notch deeper. Consider this. What have I been sensing, wondering about, longing for, or already know in my life? What have I been sensing, wondering, longing for, or already know in my life? Just let things come and go. Don't try and grab onto one of them. Let it go. Much like the phrase, if you love something, set it free. Same goes for this. I'd like you to sit with this question for just a minute and just notice what comes up to you. What is my inner wisdom asking me to notice today? What is my inner wisdom asking me to notice today? Just pay attention to what's coming up for you. There is no need to understand or act right now. It's just to simply notice. And then if you'll take a deep breath in and out, begin to hear the noises in the room that you're in. Wiggle your toes, wiggle your hands, come back to the present. I would encourage you to come back to this, maybe over the next couple of days, just to listen to that part. I think I began at around the 10-minute mark, and it's about the 18-minute mark right now. So as we move towards closing and going back to our daily activities, I'd love for you to consider this reflection. And if you are a journaler, I would love for you to journal about this. And it's very similar to that question that I was asking, which is, what is my inner wisdom asking me to notice today? We're going to flip that just a bit. What do I already know that I haven't yet given myself permission to trust? I have discovered over the course of the last 6 or so years that I hold myself back because of permission. Another thought is, what would change if I trusted my inner knowing, my inner wisdom, just 10% more? I encourage you to journal around those or just roll those questions around or have a discussion with a trusted friend about those. What I have learned is that inner wisdom doesn't always give us directions. Sometimes it just simply keeps whispering the same truth until we actually hear it. And then when we do, we have to make a choice to trust and act so that we can become who we're supposed to be. Much like that job that I was offered back in 1986. If I had not taken it, I would not be here now. So I wish you many blessings this week. If you enjoyed this and know someone that could use this message, please share, subscribe so that you know when I am on again, and check out the show notes for sharing with me how this landed for you. You can either post it here or you can certainly email me. You can also follow me on LinkedIn, or if you just want to find out directly from me and not go through all those hoops, there is a link for how you can join my email list so that you can find out when I do things like this, as well as companion reflections on the things that I offer. Until next week, namaste, blessings to you, and have a fantastic